What's going on, Jerome, man?
Everything, bro. Everything. It's been a minute.
I know it's been a while since we did a live together, man, but I love what I'm seeing, man. That's all I gotta say, man.
My brother. My brother. Why did they take you down, bro? What's going on?
Oh, you mean are you talking about the big page? Or are you talking about this latest one?
The big page, you said you can't go on the big page?
Oh no, no, the big page got deleted last year. And this one I'm banned from going live. This is a normal thing. This is a regular thing. Every so often I get banned from going live because I talk about psilocybin. And yeah, that's been the reason why I got banned for the past several times. It was because I mentioned mushrooms.
That's crazy.
And they don't ban me when I mention all kinds of other stuff. But for some reason the psilocybin it gets them triggered. So
Hmm.
so yeah, talking about the medicine. I don't know what it is about that because I talk about LSD, I talk about MDMA, I talk about all this other stuff, and they don't
Hmm.
they don't get me.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think it's cannabis and psilocybin are hot buttons, especially if you have a bigger page and you talk about
Okay.
it. And then I think it has to do with the way I present it, because it's also the way you present it, like what's in the story. Like the one that got me banned was, I was obviously talking about the prices, and I was talking about the psilocybin. So you can't be selling it. So they got me for
Wow.
that.
Wow.
Hmm.
They said so you can be telling it but not selling it. There's all sorts of different.
Jerome, man. When we was freestyling together back in South Carolina, I was freestyling. I was like, man, you gotta put yourself in your content more, man. I didn't even know you rapped at that time. At that time, I didn't even know you rapped, man. And then when we did the qigong class where you was rapping the whole time, it was like a Dr. Seuss experience, right? We was doing the breath, but there was rhymes to go with it. I was like, yo, man, let's go, man. I was just
Mhm.
it was amazing to see you now integrating the things together, integrating the different
Wow.
aspects of self into the art.
Wow.
It's a beautiful thing.
Thank you. Thank you, brother. We need to release that DVD set. Get the body loose with Dr. Seuss. You know what I'm saying?
It keeps going and going, man. And I'm so excited. There's some people in here that are gonna be in the group tonight, hopefully. That you're gonna share some qigong with the group, and it's so powerful, so simple,
Mhm.
but just so all encompassing.
Yeah, yeah. What experience did you have with Qigong or energy practices of the like?
Oh man, you know, you read enough doing the research, and you hear people keep mentioning qigong, right? Because everything has been watered down now on the internet, and so there's all these different things. There's Wim Hof, there's breathing exercises, but qigong is the one thing that keeps, like, people who have practiced, they always go back to, like, oh, I do some qigong, I make sure to get my qigong in. And the first person who I finally, like, took up on it was a guy by the name of Jonathan White.
Mm.
His Instagram is Sexual Kung Fu, and he teaches Mantak Chia's material. So Jonathan White is somebody who is taking Mantak Chia's books and distilling it down into videos that are easily explained and follow along, and basically he's making it into bite-sized pieces that we can digest, right? I think that we're all kind of doing that, right? But Jonathan White has a course called Multi-Orgasmic Man, which I've taken, and I've taken at the level that I'm ready to take it at, because you know how it is. It's like there's levels to it, levels of readiness. But I've gotten so much out of it that I now want to become an affiliate with that course, because I just want to, and I affiliate with everybody who's putting forth greatness, and I'm just pushing people, like I push people towards Devon. I'm pushing people towards that
Mhm.
course. And so this guy Jonathan White, he added qigong in his course, and just some simple breathing exercises. And this is what I've learned, is that the highest energy is the subtle energy, right? The most concentrated form of prana is the subtle. And when you go towards the more physical or the gross, right, where coming as a personal trainer, I was really just focused on the gross physical contractions, right? The physical aspect of the chakras, so to speak. And so I was getting a certain amount of results, right? From thinking about like maximizing the air capacity and really squeezing hard on the contractions. But what Jonathan White was saying was that, you know, sexual energy is the most powerful energy, and thus it is the most subtle. And so if you're cultivating energy and you're expending energy to cultivate it, like, and you know, all of that, all of those movements are expending energy. So how much of the subtle are you really cultivating?
Right.
Which brought up a deeper point, which is that like the people cultivating the most energy are actually doing the least amount of physical effort. You know, they're not wasting a drop. So when you see the movement so slow and gentle, you have no idea how much is actually going on the subtle level, on the energetic side. They may not be straining because they're not flexing as hard as they can, but on the subtle level, man, they're pulling it in. It's all in the mind. It comes from the knowing that you're doing it, and that's more powerful than the trying to do it, right? And so a little bit of qigong with a little bit of sun gazing, it only takes a little bit of work to really start to tap in on the subtle energies. You know, it takes a little bit of just unlearning, but then also detoxing, letting go of the heavy stuff that's weighing us down. And then when you tap into the simplicity of qigong, it really makes the most sense. Why and how breatharians or how these monks really subsisted. It's not just because they found something to eat that's more nutritious than food. It's because the whole entire lifestyle is based on maintaining the energy and doing things that build the energy and refraining from things that drain the energy. I mean, we get a watered down version of it when we think about energy drainers and energy vampires, you know? So yeah, man, that's a little like, that's why I like qigong and the subtle arts. And now I'm really able to tap in and get something out of your class. Like you're teaching. It's super simple. It's the movements aren't complex, right? The movements are not complex, but it's the way you're doing it. You know, and then adding in your passion with the rapping and the rhyming. It brings this level of flow into it. So I was just like, yo, we gotta share this. We gotta blast this out. And so I'm glad to have you coming onto our Zoom in a couple hours and sharing the goodness with our private microdose group, bro.
Yeah, man. Speak it into existence. You know, we speaking it into existence. You feel me? It's like, thank you for illustrating that, Gerald. Thank you for, you know, talking about the difference between the subtle and talking about the gross and just that level of energy. And in that cultivation and the way that you felt your sensations and started to raise your vibration, how do you feel like Jonathan White, that sexual kung fu and the multi-orgasmic man, how do you feel that really took you to another level with your process?
Well, what it is, you know, when you're starting to get into this stuff, you feel like you got to be a master, right? Like you feel like you get into it and you got to like be perfect with your semen retention. You know, you feel like you got to do an hour a day. Most people are like, well, how many minutes do I got to practice a day? And what Jonathan White gives and what really seems practical is like giving like easy first steps, foundational steps. For example, before in his multi-orgasmic man course, there's a certain intro section where you're just doing stretching. You know, it's like and I've experienced this because in our breathwork group, you know, we jump into the breathwork, we're jumping into the huffing and puffing, and somebody got tight hips, tight back, something's cramping, something's spasming, and so it makes sense to just spend some time doing some light stretching, man. Get into the hips, open it up. And you guys know that just doing that is energy cultivation work. Like you guys know that just sitting there and reaching for your toes and the breathing that goes along with that, that's powerful and it's foundational. And we tend to skip over that, right? We tend to skip over just the power of just getting on the ground and breathing. And so laying the foundation really allows you to feel like you have a handle on the other practices where now you're in your mind directing the energy, right? You're bringing it to the dantian, you're storing it there, you're building it there, you're allowing it to cultivate. So starting off easy really is the I think the thing that separates him from, just reading the Mantek Chia books where you skip to the end. That's what we do. Like, I'm reading all of his books. You skip over the beginner stuff. You try to go to the end and go straight to the advanced stuff. I mean, I think I've done that in every field that I've ever tried to pick up, where I get into powerlifting and I immediately just look up the world records and I'm like, all right, I'm trying to break these records. Or you get into fitness and you go into refined isolation building where it's like you're working just the bicep, and it's like, yo, like there's so much that you, as a bodybuilder even, there's so much foundational work that you do before you start working on just the surface stuff, right? You're working on your foundation, your core, your flexibility. So I like the ability to grasp the natural order of things, starting simple, building up.
Likewise, starting simple is like the principle is simple, and sometimes we make it harder than it needs to be and more difficult. Like, for instance, I love playing this instrument,
Oh, man, hey, man. That's the one you brought? That's the one, right?
That's the
Man,
one.
y'all. Yo, Jerome makes it look so easy, man, but he'll let you try it, man. That thing, bro, I can't even make it make a single sound. Woo!
That was me. In the beginning when I first started playing this, Gerald, I couldn't make a note. No note would play. It took me a whole entire day just to play, one note, one sound, just to hear something that wasn't my breath, because it was so simple that I was making it harder than it needed to be. And, and you know what that reminds me of? It reminds me of your one wheel. Your one wheel. So when you're on your one wheel and you have that level of balance, you've seen other people try to do your one wheel, but you make it look so easy, right? So how would you make that connection with that?
Yeah, so with the one wheel, now I'm kind of connecting the dots. So the one wheel, the mistake people make is they try to control it and be the one that's doing the work. Like, you think you have to roll over stuff, but this highly sophisticated piece of technology is designed to do all that for you. So and it's the same thing now I'm realizing with the flute, like as you relax, it gets easier and easier. And as you trust the board to do what it was built to do, you're not doing all that. You're just actually just standing and maintaining balance, But to trust the board, to, like, people built the board to go over all kinds of rocks, up hills. You don't gotta maneuver and try to do it. You just gotta get out your own way and not respond with fear, which is how most falls are. So yeah, I think of it as it's like a flow, and I do flow on that thing. It is, for me, it's movement music, and I now realize, like, wow, I did come to a level of just control that did take 5 years to build. And I always say, like, oh, you've never really mastered an instrument. It's like, well, that doesn't mean you haven't mastered something.
Right.
It's just a matter of apparently I wanted the one wheel more than I wanted anything else, right? I wanted those skills more, and we get what we want, So if you're thinking about why you haven't trained that instrument yet, well, think about how much you want it, and what do you want more. And we naturally gravitate towards practicing what we want the most.
Right. Right. And what the more that we practice, it's like when we practice the things that we're aligned with, it's more long lasting. And as well, what you just said, that was genius, Gerald. That was genius, because when you said, okay, here's this sophisticated piece of machinery, but all I have to do is, like, just something so simple for it to maximize it. And it's the same with our bodies. Like, when you talk about the body being its own instrument, it's this, sophisticated piece of technology, but all we have to do is something that's just so, so simple to stay aligned and stay in balance and to stay in flow. It doesn't take a whole lot, as much as we think,
Wow. So pulling to that. So speaking to that, like, the body is sophisticated and it's miraculous and it's meant to heal once we know the simple needs of the body, right? When we go into the elements, when we go into the earth, air, fire, water, and space, it's like once you know what the body needs, you don't have to live every day like it's a mystery what's going on with your health. You know, and that's what the average person is living day to day. Like, I wonder if I'm going to get cancer tomorrow, because it's just simply they have the wrong roadmap. We've been indoctrinated with the wrong roadmap of what the body's needs are in terms of germ theory and metabolism theory. You know, this idea that we have a metabolism that we need to keep feeding, this idea that there's germs that we need to make sure we avoid. Those are just old roadmaps. And when we learn the new roadmaps, like, wow, it's all based on our environment. It's all based on our choices. How much sunlight am I getting through not just my eyes, but through the food? There's sun in living foods, you know? How much grounding am I getting every day? Like, my feet connected to the earth. It's simple, dude. It's simple. Like, when you realize that it's much more like a battery, your health is much more like a battery with voltage that discharges, charges up. It can get overcharged. Once you know that the electrical nature of the body, you can start to navigate with the right map, and things ain't so hard anymore. You know, it's not so life and death, which the life and death thing, the struggle thing, is just a thing, a mindset that allows us to be controlled and capitalized on. You know, and we don't need to give in to that. We don't need to buy into that. You know, it's much more simple. And the qigong that you teach, man, I'm telling you, that plays right into it. It's like, health does not need to be that hard, man. It does not need to be that complicated, man. Bring it in, bring the love into your body with the breath, man.
Right. The body is the healer. You know, you keep telling us all the time. You know?
I keep telling them. I keep telling them, man.
It's worth repeating. You know, the body is the healer. And with learning that electricity, Gerald, what do you feel like you've learned, you know, between last year and already at this time around, not only about the electricity, but about the magnetism? Because we know they kind of go hand in hand, electromagnetism. So with speaking things into existence and with working on your own energy system, what have you seen come back your way?
Wow. I mean, it continues to come back my way. And so electromagnetism, you know, we can think of electricity as the thoughts, we can think of magnetism as the feelings, right? And we can go back to that tenet that, you know, what you send out, you get back. And I'm living that, you know, I'm getting so much love from everybody. Things are so electric. And I look back at the last 5 years and I think about how much energy I've driven into this platform, this dream, this hidden health community, you know? And so I really, you know, I'm living that idea that whatever you put out is what you receive.
Yes.
You know, and so to have the audacity to think about things that you want and to feel how it feels to have them. Just one example, you know, to think that I could live in Florida, or I wanted to move to Florida, but to really believe it, like to really want it, you know, like we have been trained as children to not want things. It's greedy to want things, right? And I would say that depends, because what the heart really wants is good for everybody, right? Because if you want something, you just want a car or something, you just want something for material gains, that's not really what you really want. So check that. But if there's something that you want from your heart, then there's no guilt in wanting and desiring that. Because I want to be in Florida, I want to be in an environment that allows me to spread my gifts and help people tap into their healing. There's nothing selfish about desiring and wanting what you really want, because at the heart, dude, we all want the same thing, and we want the same thing for each other, you know. So tap into those deep desires. Like let me just share another desire of mine. You may know this, but my desire is to be singing on stage. It's deep in there, man. This desire to be a vocalist. Because I'm good at rapping, and rapping is like more comfortable for a man, you know, rapping, but there's a singer in there, man. and it's a deep desire, and it's not the type of desire like I want to be famous. I literally just want to sing. Anytime I'm not doing anything, I'm usually singing, you know? So to feel so guilty for my whole life for wanting to be a superstar. I wanted to be a superstar. I don't know if you ever watched that movie, but there's this movie called Superstar. But like to feel guilty for wanting that, but I want it for the right reasons. Like when you put me on stage, I'm going to be inspiring people to be healthy, to go after their dreams. So don't be afraid to really desire something. And that's what we're talking about, this electromagnetics, man. You know, you can think about something and logic it out about why you deserve it. That's electricity. But the magnetism is you want that. You almost want that sexually. You know, like you're horny for that. You know, you're gonna redirect that sexual energy. You're gonna stop paying attention to women for a while, and you're gonna focus on getting that thing, man. Which for me was just attention, man. I really now know it's like what I wanted attention because I had a lot to do with it. And lo and behold, like I got the attention and now I got the love of my life that I'm with. So everything comes together, man.
Beautiful. Beautiful, bro. You know, you're one of the people that I consider a master manifester because, you know, we haven't known each other for that long, but in the duration that we've known each other, I've seen you manifest greatly, bro. Like just even from the trip that you took all around the US on the train, and you stopped by my lane,
Yeah.
and you know, and
Yeah.
the things that you've brought into existence, like you've spoken into existence. And as well, we talk about setting your sights or having that desire or having that goal in mind, something that you're looking to attain, and then you have your aim almost like you have a bow and arrow on your target. You know, when it came to Florida, or when it came to your aspiration or your ambitions, when you had that aim with the bow, some people say that okay, you can aim the target, but if you don't release, if you don't let go, then the arrow doesn't, you know what I mean? The arrow doesn't hit. So what did you not only have to pull back, you know, to aim at, but what did you also have to let go in order to make that happen?
I love it. I love it. You know, it was my past and the trials of my past that allowed me to get into a space where I could be detached. And that was the prison past. You know, by being ripped from my world, I had a little world, a bubble, right? When I was in a gang and I was selling drugs and I was like 50 Cent or Tupac or something in my mind, you know, and to get ripped from that and to start over by getting sent to prison. But not only that, in prison, they pick you up and they move you every year or so. You have to start over. Like for people with short amounts of time, they don't let you get comfortable and stay at one prison. They move you every year. You got to move to a new prison. As soon as you make friends, they pick you up, they transfer you, you know? And so I got used to the idea of just detaching from your comfort zone and starting anew. And so that got me to be comfortable with that idea. And so in order to get to somewhere that's completely different than where you're at, you have to be able to let go with where you're at. So so when I got out, I was really not attaching to where I was ever. I was always looking forward. Like I was always like, I was in a shack. I was in a shed behind some nice lady's house working as a full-time personal trainer. But in my mind, I was already building the audience. I was like, this is where I'm headed. This is where I'm going. So although my feet may have been in the shit, my head was in the stars, you know? And so, you know what I mean? So I was always not too attached with my current state. Like a lot of people are stuck because they're attached to their current condition. They say like, oh, it's rough. I got this many bills. I can't even pay this. It's like, I have been there, but even when it was rough, I wasn't looking at my zeroed bank account. I was looking at how many people were in my live streams. I was looking at how many people are commenting back. And just to say that the master manifestation thing that you said, like, I can't help but think about how much it was the community that lifted me and allowed me to even make the decision. Like literally it was people buying products from me and participating in my product launches and all those things that allowed me to do things like buy the train ticket, travel, stay at hotels, meet people. And so it was really a collective effort. We all got me to do this, which is why I continue giving back, because I don't see it as y'all help me get successful. I see it as we continue to grow together. You know, there are people that were feeling suicidal when they first started, first came across my page, and now they're like on the top of their game. And so with the stories that I get back from people, it just empowers me to keep going forward. Because even now, right, I'm in Tampa with my girl. My head is now like where we're going next. Like, well, I'm thinking like, well, how much could we do if we had a multi-bedroom house? Like, we could have a room for vlogging, we could have a room for shipping and production. And so even now, as it's so-called better than it's ever been, I'm already onto the next growth, right? Because there's either growth or there's stagnancy. And that's also something that, you know, I learned in prison. So going back to your struggles, you guys, as hard as it feels, like you may be in the worst position you've ever been in, you will be grateful for that. You will be grateful for how hard it was when you're at a place where it could be easy to forget. It could be easy to forget how much you struggled, but those memories, they keep you grounded and you can share them. So
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thank you for that testimony. You know, I know a lot of people needed to hear that, especially coming from your experience and the environments that you've gone through and grown through. You know, when you talk about being able to be driven, have that determination, but also detachment, you know, that's a tricky balance to have. That's tricky to do for most people, to still be driven, still have that desire, but be just as much detached, you know, to let it go.
It's some adept level of consciousness, and it speaks to your ability to polarize. So there's the Hermetic principles, and you have to be able to operate from your different sides. And that is to say that you have two extremes. No matter what we're talking about, you have a side that is super hopeful, right? And you have a side that is super hopeless, and you to recognize that, you know, to be able to hold that and to actually even play with that. So polarity has to do with opposites being different only in a matter of degree. Meaning, when we're talking about the side of me that likes to, you know, be stagnant, eat junk food, be lazy, and then the side of me that likes to be super productive, go on the internet and help people and inspire people. This journey involved me integrating all of those aspects and giving them all space. You know, I have a space that likes to be lazy and non-productive. Let's give that side its time to play. Let's not always just be trying to be only on one side. And this is shadow integration. It's like to say that if you're always in your light, you're ignoring that other side of you. Even though it's your shadow, it's you. And even and going back to the polarity thing, something that's hot and cold is one thing. One temperature. Temperature can either be hot or cold, but it's still temperature. So hot and cold are the same in nature. They're just different in the matter of degree. So, so when you think about your darkest parts of yourself, and you sometimes we try to say that's not me. That's who I was. That's who I was before. It's not me anymore. You're literally just denying yourself. You know, and from experience, the more we do that, the harder it swings back around, right? So now at this state, as far as, you know, the whole food and being super clean with your nutrition, I'm more accepting of the side of me that likes to indulge, and I'm just more conscious of it. And what this leads to is me indulging in a more enjoyable way, where I'm literally just taking a little bit of something. We're trying a little bit of something and really getting the experience out of it. It's another level from just being dogmatic and saying, I don't eat that. We don't eat that no more. You know, that's like attachment. That's, you're attaching to your light side. You don't have a shadow anymore, right? Versus like the master, like think about the master monk who has like a gut and smoking cigarettes, but it's because they know how to transmute all that stuff. They know the work that it takes to process the food and get it out. And with things like urine therapy, you know, we literally have the keys to transmute all those things. So there's really no reason to be so strict anymore until it comes naturally, right? There will be a time when it's natural for you to be strict, but it's not, it's because you're not being strict. You naturally grow in there. You're just being normal, right? Instead of trying to attach to a certain lifestyle and forcing yourself, you know, that's the way to not grow. That's the way to be stagnant.
Right. Right. Wow. A great illustration. You know, earlier when you were talking about, Gerald, the difference that you found, and you said you learned this in prison, between growth and stagnancy. When do you feel like was a moment where you really had that mental shift to say, you know what, it's all on me? You know, I can either go in this direction or I can go in that direction.
Dude, that happened really early on. What happened was, you know, there's a time where you're facing a case and you're like in limbo. And it's where they're deciding what amount of time to give you. So you got sentenced, but they didn't. So you got sentenced as guilty, but they didn't give you what the punishment is yet. And so now it's like, wow, I could be gone for 5 years. I could be gone for 10 years. And as an 18-year-old, that's like your whole life, you know? And it's like, and I know this is the point where many people decide that I'm just going to kill myself, or I'm just going to go all the way into this prison mindset. And it happened for like a split second where I just gave up. You know what? I'm just going to start talking the language. I'm just going to start following all the rules, the prison rules. And I'm just going to be comfortable here, because that is better than the idea of hoping to get out and never getting out. Right. And, you know, it hit me while I first found out I was going to do 2 years. All right. I was just trying to digest it. And there's this anime, you know, Dragon Ball Z, where there's something called the hyperbolic time chamber, where you go into this chamber and one day in real time, you get to spend 1 year in training time, and you get out and only a day passed. And I had that image, and my brother came to visit me, and I just told him, you know what, man, I'm going into the hyperbolic time chamber. You know, I'm gonna work out. I'm gonna read. I was telling him, and he started getting happy. He was like, yeah, because he's been worried about me. My brother, you know, he didn't know if I was gonna get shot or shoot somebody. So here I am in jail, and I'm telling him, like, I'm gonna start working out. And he started getting happy. He's like, yes, like, yeah, do that. That's literally the best thing you can do with your time. So I think I was kind of lucky that it wasn't more than 2 years, but, you know, and if you're hearing that may seem like a long time to go to prison, but honestly, time flies, man. That was nothing. And basically I decided that I was not going to waste it. And I decided, look, 2 years is not long. You won't get out at 21. You can still party if you want. But I decided that I was going to make the most out of it. Right. So I used the time to read as many books as I could, work out, lose the weight. I worked out until the asthma went away, because I stopped drinking the milk, eating the bread, and the asthma went away. By the way, I've been indulging a lot since my business took off and the asthma is back. So it's like, it's funny that we ebb and flow. And even a part of me thought it was done, but as soon as you gave me a little business success, I'm over here whining and dining, and I brought the asthma back. It's like, nope, the lesson is not over. Now you get to integrate these new lessons and come to a higher level of understanding when I shed the weight again. So yeah, that was kind of the point. When I was facing that long period of time, I just decided that I was not going to waste it, you know, and it was an experience, you know, having my brothers, my parents visiting me in prison. And when you first get locked up, you think, well, it's just me, you know, I'm fine. Y'all gonna be good. You know, it's just me. I'll be good in there, you know. But then over the years, I realized, like, wow, I'm bringing my parents to prison. Wow, I'm bringing my brothers to prison. Wow, I'm bringing my loved ones to prison. It's not just me. And then the notion hit me that was, wow, if you go to the hospital because you try to kill yourself, or you go to the cemetery, you're bringing your family there. And then if I decide to kill myself, I doom my family and my brothers to a life of going to the cemetery to visit me.
Wow.
So do you really go places by yourself or do you not? Because what I learned is that every decision I make to go somewhere, whether it's the hospital, prison, or the cemetery, I'm taking all of my family with me. Where do I want to take them?
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you what, I want to take them to Florida. And
Mm.
that's what I'm working for now. You better believe that what's formulating in my mind now is being able to bring my family out here so they can get the vibes. Like what's the point? What's the point of me getting out here and getting all the vibes, the Florida vibes, where my parents and my mom is still back there? Now like a little itch I have is I want to get my mom out here and I want to get her to feel how it is out here, just the warmth, the tropical. She's from the Philippines. She might like it out here in Florida, you know? So again, going on to the next goal, like my big goal is to get a big house so my whole family can come out here.
Wow. Wow, man, I support you, brother. You know, I support you, man. And thank you for what you said just now, because that was powerful, man. What you just reminded me, there was an interview that Stephen Colbert had years ago with Keanu Reeves, and it was for one of his upcoming films, John Wick.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, John Wick, Keanu Reeves, he's like, even though he's a kind-hearted guy in real life, people say like, in the movie, he's killing everybody. He's killing people, you know, so many people indiscriminately. He's just, like hundreds. It's literally hundreds. And so, you know, jokingly, even though like Keanu Reeves has you know, gone through that turmoil of seeing a loved one pass away, in the moment of, you know, the crowd and in the audience, Stephen Colbert asked Keanu Reeves this question of, where do you think we go when we die, Keanu Reeves? You know, where do you think we go when we die? And it was almost like a jokingly way, you know, he asked him. And Keanu took this deep breath. You can see it if you go on YouTube. And he just paused and he said, I know that the ones who love us will miss us. And it was such a moment, you know, and the crowd just, like, you could feel in the audience. It was one of the wisest quotes that anybody could have ever given that question. What do you think happens when we die? I know that the ones who love us will miss us. So when you said, like, it's not just me, you know, it's not just me, it's my family, it's my loved ones, it's my friends, it's everyone. That speaks volumes. That speaks.
And there's no like you know, even like, and to speak about it even like raises some tension in me, because what I'm doing now could potentially land me in prison, but it's not, because there's no victims here. But even now, like I really pause with what I'm doing, because it's like, wow, like, do I want to take my family there? Do I want to take my friends there? You know? And so right now I want to take my family and friends to Florida. So you know, I don't want to take them to the cemetery, and I don't want to take them to prison. So, you know, it's really, you know, and it's not to say that you should live for other people, but just think about that. Just think about that, because you don't want to be on the other end and regret that, you know, and it's like, wow, like I made, like, to see my parents getting patted down, man, just to see that, just to see them getting patted down, going through the metal detector, like, I didn't like it. It was probably the worst thing to see, going to the visiting center and they patting my mom down like she's sneaking in, like she's a criminal. And it's just like, damn, man, I brought them here, man. Like, when I'm getting patted down, I'm just used to it. I just all the time, man. I'm just another convict, patting me down. But yeah, you patting my mom down, like, I did not like that, and I never wanted to experience that or be the cause of that again. You know.
Right. So being able to bring your family, bring your loved ones to somewhere better, you know, to somewhere different, to somewhere brighter, you know, a brighter future. I love that you think you're always thinking of a brighter future. You know, where are we going from here? What is happening next? And, you know, with you going into that hyperbolic time chamber, and even in those 2 years, like you said, you know, coming out, like understanding that the passage of time was different. I remember speaking to you and you were telling me that, you know, just because the bell would ring or something would happen, it didn't mean that you had to go or you had to do anything. Like they weren't really looking at you in certain environments. They weren't like watching you like that. So you had to be responsible for your time and what you were doing that
Yeah.
time. So
Yeah.
what was one of the things that you feel like you learned that is ingrained in your nervous system when it comes to the passage of time, how we use that time, and what do you feel like people take for granted with the time that they have?
I mean, people definitely, period, people take for granted the time that they have. So let's just say that, you know, the culture in prison for some reason is not to waste time, man. You know, it's like time is all you have in prison. So then we're not gonna waste it. It's crazy the stuff you learn because I can't leave out the stuff that I was taught by other men. You know, you think that prison is filled with scum. You think it's filled with just rapists and murderers. And it's not. It's filled with people. It's filled with people that got nothing but time on their hands. Think about what that means. There is some wisdom in there, man. And so the thing, like, and the thing about it is, you know, it's all racial. It's all racially segregated. So the thing when you're not in any of the major races, if you're not black, white, or Mexican, you're in what's called the other car. The other car is where they just put everybody else who's not black, white, or Mexican, right? And so the thing was, the other car is usually small. And because it's small, they actually take better care of each other. It's more close knit. Like people know each other's names. If you're black, white, or Mexican, dude, it's so populous that they break off into splinter gangs and they fight amongst each other. But the other car, because there's only like 10 of us in any prison, or 20 or something, it's really like a close-knit family. And so they taught me things like, you don't waste time. Time is all you got. In prison, you don't got nothing, man. You don't got nothing. You don't got nothing to your name, man, but time. Why are you gonna waste it? Don't waste your time. It's all you have. And in fact, that's true in life, man. It's true in life. And the lessons I've learned in prison, the things I got to see about how just economy works, I've learned that it applies on a mass scale, because prison is nothing other than a slice of society that got caught in the net. This slice of society, there's a couple crackheads, there's a couple doctors and lawyers in there too. You know, there's a couple, there's everybody in there, you know, in the same percentages as you'll find them out in the streets. And so I naturally gravitated towards the more mature people. And for me, I had friends, you know, Filipinos for some reason. And that's another thing is, I also believe that being Filipino in prison is different than every other race, because like we literally like get along with everybody. I was going in the other sections and hanging out with other people and made such wholesome friendships with, and regardless of race. And so it was eye-opening for me that even racism as an idea is something that's perpetuated by the people running the place. You know, this is an important topic, that when you get off the bus in prison, they make you choose a race and choose a side, and if you don't, they force you to choose, because they need the segregation. If prison populations operated as a group, they would not be manageable or controllable. So for me, when they tried to tell me to pick, all right, who do you run with? What's your gang? What is? I said, no, I'm not in anything. I'm not in anything. Like, as I was trained to say, I'm not in anything. I don't do that. They looked up my paperwork, and they looked up who our gang's enemies are, and they threatened to send me over there. Oh, okay, well, we see that in your paperwork. These are your rival gang members. I guess you don't mind if we just put you in a cell with them. And it's like, okay, fine, I'm in this gang, and I'm this. So they force you to choose and to team up so that they can put you with people, so that, because they keep control by pinning us against each other. And I even suspect that they orchestrate the riots, because it's always like a crackhead or someone who's down on their shit that starts off like a stabbing or something. And I just have this theory that people higher up are getting them to initiate issues and problems to keep the discord, like to purposely keep the discord. Now that sounds like what happens on the outside too. That sounds like what happens out here is there's things that are purposely done and orchestrated to keep us from uniting, you know? And it was this very eye-opening thing that, like, wow, like, racism is something that is very much perpetuated loudly in the media. They keep coming up with movies to remind us why we should be racist, why we should be in a victimhood mentality, right? And it's because if you turn off that frequency, if you turn off that brainwashing programming for 1 second, people will start to unite. People will start to get a good head on their shoulders and start to think for themselves. And the truth is that they cannot afford to turn off the programming and the mind control for 1 second.
Oh my gosh, bro, I'm getting chills. Like, as you're talking, Gerald, like, I'm getting goosebumps. I don't know if anybody is, but what you're saying, it makes so much sense. You said that they deliberately made you go into a group like this or that. You cannot, you know, you
You can't
cannot
just
be,
I don't do anything. You can't do that. Yeah.
yeah. It said you can't be on the fence, you can't be neutral, you have to pick a side, because it was like you said, they couldn't control a solidified group. They could only control you if you were divided.
Yes. It was very, I guess to a certain discerning eye it's clear, right? But the majority of people in prison are living in it, right? So they believe it. And they believe that people are just racist. They believe that we're separate and we're different. But to a third eye open, if you meditate long enough in prison, you'll start to see through. And that's something I did a lot, right? A whole bunch of meditation, just a whole bunch of still meditation. I didn't really know too much about the breath work, but I did know about the meditation. And so you do enough meditation, you start to peer through the lines of the conditioning. You start to see, like, where people are really operating from. And it turns out that most people are still just operating on autopilot and just doing what everyone is doing, right? But I met some real conscious men in there who set me up for success, in that they made me realize that I didn't belong in there. They actually spoke love and light into me. They encouraged me. And in fact, the story I always love to tell is that, you know, they let me, and when I say they let me, I mean, like, they didn't care that I was going around and just getting tattooed by, because I was a youngin', right? I'm 18. You got this group of, in our group, they're a lot older. They're all in their 30s, right? So I'm like this little kid, you know? And so they're watching me go around to all these different people and letting everybody tattoo me, right? Because I was on a tattooing spree, because in my prison term, I did 2 years, but the whole 2 years, I was trying to find a tattoo artist to be a cellmate with me, because that's how you get tattooed. You become cellmates with somebody who knows how to do it, right? But I was never able to do it. So I was like, no tattoos, almost at the end of my sentence. I'm like, yo, I was waiting for these free tattoos, man. And then at the very end, they put me in dormitory living. Last 9 months was in dormitory living, where, bro, it's like anything goes in the dorm. Like, think about a dormitory with like 300 inmates and like 2 guards. 2 guards, you know, those guards are not, they don't care. They're just, most of the time they're kicking their feet up in the center, just watching TV, you know, and then do a walk around like once an hour. But in the dormitory, it's like anything goes, man. It's like a party up in there, man. All kinds of contraband, all kinds of drugs being done, all kinds of tattooing. And so I was just getting tattooed by everybody. I was like, oh, you do tattoos? Just go ahead and go. At one point, I had 2 people tattooing me, one on this arm, one on this arm, right? So I was just like, just not thinking about it. Now, these, if you would have told me now, I would have been like, let me pay for some higher level work and not just get whatever. But the OGs in my group let me get my whole body tattooed. But here we are at the end, and I got my gang symbol, right? Sent in, I had artists drafted up, right? There's a question mark. So my gang symbol is the question mark. And the question mark means whatever happens, happens, right? And I'm getting ready to get this question mark, like this, boom, like where this was. It was going to be 1 question mark, right? And I was like hyped up. I was like, yeah, man, I'm in it. I'm going to get it. And then the homies sat me down, man. They sat me down, had a little intervention with me. They were like, look, we like you having fun, man. You doing your thing. You know, you're about to get out soon, right? Here's the thing, man. If you get that tattoo, you're probably going to come back here. If you get that tattoo, the chances of you coming back are almost 100%, man. So here's the thing, man. you can get whatever you want, man, but we're not gonna let you get that tattoo, man. We're
Mm.
not gonna let you. We're not gonna let you get that tattoo, man, because you don't belong in here, man. And we don't want to see you ever again. We don't want to see. And the people, the men that told me that, I did see them again on the outside. These men, you know, you might think, oh, 25 to life is a long time. It's not. 25 years is not a long time. Some of y'all just got a different perspective, but 25 years is not a long time, and it does go by. I've been out for 12 years now, and quite a few of the men who helped me are now out with families, living wholesome lives with wife and kids, and so it's not the end of the world. And those men who didn't let me get that gang tattoo, man, they changed my trajectory forever. My own OGs, my real, like the people in my gang were cheering me on. They're like, get the tattoo. Yeah, can't wait. Get it. You know, you better get that tattoo, you know? And it made me realize that, like, yo, these people who are charged with being my elders don't even give a fuck about me. And these people who just met me this year really give a fuck about me. You know, it's the difference between men and children, because my OGs were 3 years older than me. So here I am, 18, getting told what to do by a 21-year-old, you know, and now I realize it's like you had the blind leading the blind. That's what the streets are, man. It's the blind leading the blind. And my OGs, now the main OG that I had, he's in prison now for terrorism and torture. And I love him, but you know, that's where I could have been ended up if I didn't change my trajectory. So meeting real men in prison really changed my trajectory. They didn't let me get that tattoo. That meant so much as I thought about it after the years passed. And it was like, that was such a pivotal moment for me. But yeah, it was the people around me, man.
Man, thank you for that, bro. Thank you for that testimony and just illustrating just the powerful importance on each choice that we make, you know, and the power to choose in the moment. Because like you said, you were charged up, you were so psyched up, you were ready to get that tattoo on you. And they knew that even though this was one decision that seemed small,
Yeah.
it seemed small, but like the small affects the all. It was going to affect everything after
Yes.
the moment. So it changed the whole trajectory of your entire life. That's amazing, bro.
And you know, it's something that you never would think would happen when you think about prison, when you think about all of that stuff. You wouldn't think that the most solid individuals I ran into were in there, you know? And it makes sense now, because you give any man enough time free of distractions and they will raise their consciousness. And that's what I believe. I believe that because this particular, because if, again, going back to the race, if you're black or white or Mexican in prison, it's really, it's like, it so much depends on you. It depends on what you're focused on, right? Because you can navigate towards the trouble, you can navigate towards the consciousness, but when your car is small, I believe that the consciousness is raised because there's not much else. There's not much distraction. You know, there's no the word is politicking, politics. So the more numerous the population is, the more they politic. And what is politicking? It's like programming. You know, what the hell is politics? You know? So I think that, and upon, like, you know, learning more and growing a little bit, I know that because of the race thing, my experience was different than many people's experience is going to be. But it's not just the race, it's the mindset. On my last day in prison, I was talking to one of the elders, and I was like, you know, during my time here, I've seen so many fights, I've seen so many altercations, I've seen so many, like, people get beat up and all this stuff, and I was waiting for my time, my test, you know, because I knew, because from the beginning I was like, you're gonna get tested in there, and you're gonna have to show that you're a man, you know. The whole 2 years went by, and nobody ever picked a fight with me. Nobody ever did anything, step to me, nothing. I'm small. I look like a good victim. Like, nobody ever did anything or stepped to me. And I was telling the OG, I was like, I was expecting to get my manhood tested so that I could get out and know I'm a man, and nobody ever tested me. And I'm here on the last day, and I still don't know. And then he looked at me and he said, you know, look at the way that you carry yourself. Look at the way that you move and you talk, man. Ain't nobody need to test you, man. You do not need. That was the test, man. That was the test, man. The way that you carry, you're so mature that there's no reason to take advantage of or try to take advantage of or to test you, man. That was it. And then I realized it. I was like, wow, man. Wow. Like it's not just white or black. It's not just you're going to get into a fight, you're either going to win or lose. It's like, no, man, you can carry yourself in a certain way where you rise above all of it. And I realized that that's how I was walking around in prison, man. I was a high consciousness individual, man. Yeah. And people just got this good energy. Now I realize, man, I was in there gracing people with my happy-go-lucky, perky energy. And and it allowed me to get out and do it on the internet. And now we're here, we're where we are now, you know?
Man, the energy you carry speaks volumes, you know? It speaks. Yeah. It's like they say, your energy speaks before you do. You know, yeah. It announced your arrival. Yes. And people feel it. People feel it. Man, Gerald, thank you for this. I know so many people have already received this. Yes. I always love like the passion, the enthusiasm, and just that heartfelt authenticity of you and your story. You're still evolving. You're still growing. You're a student of life. You're still learning. And not only are you learning, but you're reaching back and you're teaching someone else. You know, you're reaching someone else. And thank you for doing what you're doing. Thank you for your consistency. We need this.
Hey, man. Hey, thank you for having me. Honestly, I was kind of low energy at the beginning of this, but now after all that expression and getting it off my chest, I feel high energy again. So thank you for giving me the chance to get that off my chest once again in a different iteration. Thank you, everybody else, for tapping in. Appreciate you guys. Love you guys.
All right. All right, bro. Man, see you again soon, man. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Bro.
We'll tap in.
All right, peace, man.
All right. Awesome.